making millions as a professional gambler, then change the channel right now. But if you're a casual player on a lifetime losing streak, you'd better keep watching. In the next hour, you'll hear the top experts and gamblers in the business tell you what you're doing wrong. And even better, they'll tell you what you should be doing to increase your odds. It may come down to the simple fact that you, like millions of other gamblers, are making too many sucker bets. There's probably more money changing hands in Vegas than in any other city in the world. Many of those exchanges are in the form of wagers. And sadly, many of those wagers are what the experts call sucker bets. And that's why we usually don't win them. But just what is a sucker bet?
There's three kinds of sucker bets in a casino. There's the dumb, the dumber, and the dumbest. A dumb bet, a sucker bet like that, is where a person will go in and make a bet in a game they don't understand. Then a second kind of dumb bet is the kind of person that will take a bet which is a really high casino advantage bet. Then the most serious, the dumbest bet of all, and this is the one I would, if I can stress anything to the listening audience, please do not bet more than you can afford to lose.
Money management, knowledge of the game, and understanding the house advantage are all keys to avoiding making sucker bets. But there's one more thing you should be aware of before you select a casino game to play.
As a general rule in casinos, the games that require no skill and no knowledge whatsoever have the highest house edge.
Keno's the perfect example. It's one of the easiest games to play and one of the most difficult to win. 20 numbers are drawn from a field of 1 through 80. The numbers are posted on a large board. Various bets are placed on which numbers will come up, and if enough of your numbers do come up, you win.
The house edge at Keno is around 30%. And to give you an idea what that means if you walk into a Keno parlor with $100, just subtract $30 before you even start. That's how strong that game is.
Well, it certainly sounds like a sucker bet, but why has Keno remained so popular?
Well, you can bet $1 or $2 and win $25,000 or $50,000. So people, I guess, play it because, like a lottery, they can bet a very small amount and possibly win a very large amount.
Another game that most experts would agree falls into the sucker bet category is the Big Six Wheel of Fortune. It's a relic from the old carnival days, and all you have to do is put your money on a number, the dealer spins the wheel, and if it stops on your number, you win.
The next time you walk in a casino, periodically observe the Big Six Wheel and see how many people are playing it. And usually it's 0. And the reasons for that are the odds, depending on what you bet on, range from bad to positively horrible.
The house edge on that game is around 18%. So these are the games that would be difficult to win at because the house edge is just too darn high.
Well, we've just seen that some of the games offered in the casino have a high house advantage and are a little tougher to win. But don't worry, there are some casino games where the house advantage isn't so great.
The top 3 games that you can play where the house edge or house advantage is 1% or less would be craps, blackjack, and baccarat, what they call the big 3. The house edge in those 3 games is around 1% or under if you use optimum strategy when you play.
Now you're talking. We've got 3 games with a small house advantage. What was that last part again?
If you use optimum strategy when you play.
So just picking the right game isn't enough. To avoid sucker bets, we have to learn to play the games perfectly.
There's plenty of literature, there's lots of books that will give you this information based on the mathematical analysis and tell you how to make the proper plays.
But most of us are just casual gamblers coming in for a few days of fun, right? Can't we just substitute playing perfectly for a little old-fashioned luck?
I don't really believe in luck. I believe in the sort of immutable laws of math that over a long enough sampling, everything sort of reflects the way the math says it's supposed to come out. However, most of us never really get into the long run. We don't play enough hands of blackjack or enough spins of a wheel to ever really get into the long run, and so the short-term fluctuations really do feel like luck to us.
People can hit royal flushes or 4 aces or 4 deuces and be up at the moment, but unless they have a process to continue to do this, they will lose it all back. Winning is not an event. Winning is a process.
And the underpinning of that process is the math. And with math, the outcome is always the same.
I don't care if, how the stars have been aligned. I don't care if it's raining. I don't care if I'm wearing my favorite lucky shirt. 1 + 1 is never equaled 3. And I would say that the mathematics is irrefutable.
There's an old saying, luck favors the prepared mind. I think sometimes we say people are lucky. What we're really saying is they've done their homework. They're not really lucky. They're just smart.
But not all the experts agree. A few still hold out for the luck concept.
You have to be lucky to win, particularly for the recreational gambler, because you're only here for a couple days and you can throw all the math out the window, because if you're not lucky, you're not going to win. It's just as simple as that.
There's ways of playing, little strategies, so you can be kind of skillful in that way. If you know the strategies of the game to play, that'll give you a little bit of an edge, but it's mostly luck. Mostly luck. If it's your day to win, you're going to win.
Coming up, did you know that some of your all-time favorite casino games actually contain some sucker bets to avoid? We'll show you when Las Vegas Sucker Bets continues. Las Vegas is a place for gambling. You can walk into any number of casinos and make hundreds of different bets in an effort to win your fortune. But most of us run out of money before we've made anywhere near hundreds of bets, much less winning our fortune. What are we doing wrong? Are we making too many sucker bets? It's time to listen to what the experts have to say.
I would say if you're going to gamble in a casino, look for a game where the house edge is as small as possible. You might have to do a little study on it, but I can tell you right now, the top 3 games that you can play where the house edge or house advantage is 1% or less would be craps, blackjack, and baccarat.
Of the 3, the game that is possibly the most exciting, but probably the most confusing, is craps. But it's not really that difficult to learn. The key element is a pair of dice. Play begins as the dice are passed to one player who will be the dice thrower or shooter. To win, the shooter must roll a 7 or an 11 on the first roll. If the shooter's first roll is a 2, a 3, or a 12, it's an automatic loss, and it's called crapping out. If the shooter throws any number other than a winning 7 or 11, or a losing 2, 3, or 12 on the first roll, that other number becomes the point. That means that the shooter tries to keep rolling the dice to get that number before a 7 is rolled.
Well, the best single bet at any table game in a casino is to bet the pass line in craps and take the odds.
The pass line bet is made before the shooter's first roll.
By betting on the pass line, all you're doing is you're betting the shooter's going to make a pass, that he's going to roll his number before he rolls a loser 7.
But the game of craps has some sucker bets, too. The center of the table is considered no man's land.
A lot of players like these bets because the payoffs are so huge, but they are long shots. The house edge on these can be as high as 18%.
Another game with a low house advantage that is extremely popular in the casino is blackjack. It's considered a game of skill that, if played optimally, can be beat. Blackjack is pretty simple to learn. Each player is playing against the dealer. Players are trying to beat the dealer by getting their cards to total 21, or as close to it, without going over. The total is determined by adding the numbers on each of the numbered cards and counting all of the kings, queens, and jacks as 10 points each. An ace is worth 1 point or 11 points, whichever you choose. Now, play begins with the dealer dealing each player and herself 2 cards. The player's cards are dealt face up, but only one of the dealer's cards is face up. This allows the player to employ some basic strategy as to what is necessary to beat the dealer's hand. If the player gets an ace and a 10, that's a blackjack and an automatic winner. If a player is not an automatic winner, they may hit, which means taking another card or as many cards as they'd like to add to their total. If their total goes over 21, they've busted and they lose their bet. If the dealer's face-up card is an ace, it's a good assumption that the face-down or whole card is a 10, because there are more 10-value cards in the deck than any other. If the dealer gets a blackjack, you lose. In those instances, when the dealer's face-up card is an ace, a little side bet is offered. It's called buying insurance, and it's a sucker bet.
This is considered the worst bet on the blackjack table. Here's why. Look at it this way. Does the casino ever offer you a bet we don't have an advantage on? Well, I'm afraid we don't. So we have an advantage on this bet as well. Now, this player here has 2 bets out we have an advantage on.
In blackjack, if you merely just play blackjack, you're going to face less than a 1% disadvantage. But if you take insurance every time it's offered to you, you're going to be facing close to a double-digit disadvantage. That's a sucker bet.
Rounding out the big 3 of best table games with the lowest house advantage is Baccarat. It's one of the easiest games to play in the casino.
It's like betting on the toss of a coin. The player either bets on the player or the banker, and the dealer will deal out some cards to determine which hand is better, which hand has the higher total, the player or the banker. The odds favor betting on the banker. It's a slightly better bet.
Play starts with the players betting on either the player, the banker, or a tie. They're actually betting on which hand will be worth 9 points. From 8 decks of cards, the dealer deals out 2 cards to the banker and 2 to the player. Points are figured by adding the numbered cards as their number. Aces are worth 1, and 10s and face cards are worth 0. If the sum of the 2 cards is higher than 9, the single digit becomes the working number. If you like your game slower paced, Baccarat would seem to be a pretty good wager for the occasional player.
Baccarat's strategy is very simple. The banker every time.
There's also a sucker bet in Baccarat called the tie.
The tie pays 9 for 1 or 8 to 1. If the banker and player totals are the same, it's a sucker bet. It carries a house advantage of 14%. Absolutely avoid the tie at all costs.
Most Las Vegas casinos offer a popular form of gambling called sports betting.
Sports betting is one of the best bargains for gamblers that exists, although there are bad bets that exist within sports betting, and they often are the ones that people like to make the most. Things like futures wagers, proposition bets during the Super Bowl, things like that.
Who's going to catch the first pass? Who's going to fumble more? Who's going to score the first field goal? You can bet on just about anything anymore. You know, whose shoes will fall off? I don't know. I mean, they're willing to book action on anything as long as they have an advantage, which they always do.
In a typical sports book, just about every major sporting event is posted with odds. And the most common bet is picking one opponent to win over the other. But what do all those numbers actually mean?
Well, what these numbers are is they tell you which team is the favorite. If you see a minus number, De La Hoya minus 250, that'll mean De La Hoya is the favorite and his opponent is the underdog. If you see a minus number, it means you have to put up that number of dollars to try to win 100. If you see a plus number, it means you put up $100, and if you're lucky and you win, you get your $100 back plus that number. So a plus 120, for example, you'd get your $100 back plus you'd win 120.
This is one area of the casino where sucker bets are not only normal, but they could put you in the big money because the odds on a long shot are really high.
For the recreational player, sports betting is one of the best bargains in gambling, without a doubt, for three reasons. One is you can make very low bets, $5, $10, $11. Two is the casino advantage is reasonably low, 4.5%, 5%, if you make the straight wagers. And three is that it is a gambling endeavor that moves very, very slow. It takes 3 hours, 4 hours to complete a game. All the time you've got action, and it feels just as good the whole way until you get the result.
Coming up, tips and strategies for some new casino games that you may not have heard of. And we'll tell you the truth about professional gamblers when Las Vegas Sucker Bets continues. For most people, placing a few bets in Las Vegas is great entertainment. If we lose, it's okay, and if we win, it's even better. So we make a few sucker bets along the way. It really doesn't matter. It's not like we're planning to quit our day jobs and become professionals. But I'm sure the thought of being a professional gambler has crossed the minds of more than a few Vegas visitors. The excitement of the game, the big payoffs, and even the idea of being able to have a few free drinks on the job are all part of the gambler's lifestyle. Or so we think.
The reason why most people can't play these games like professionals, can't gamble professionally, is because it's really not very fun. Being a professional gambler isn't that fun. It's boring. It's a grind. You take out that whole element of chance and luck and fate and risk and long shots coming in. And what's the fun of that?
The biggest difference between the pros and the part-time gamblers is probably found in the way each predicts the outcome of the games they play.
I think there's a number of people who concentrate on the possibility of something. It is possible to win the lottery. It is possible to have 12 passes a row at craps. It is possible to hit it big at Keno over and over again. So all those things are mathematically possible. The winning players look at the probability, which is what probability is possibility multiplied by how often it's really likely to happen. And so the winning players are basing their decisions based on probabilities. The recreational player and the casual gambler are interested in the possibilities.
But here's an interesting footnote. Even though most of us are only playing for the possibility of winning, one expert feels that the casinos are actually happy when a regular player comes in and wins a jackpot or two.
A loser may tell 2 people. A winner will tell 200. And so it's in the casino's best interest to have winners.
In order to have winners, there must be players. To get us to play, the casinos are often introducing new games. Slot machines are an excellent example. But new games aren't limited to the slots. Most casinos have made room for games with names like Caribbean Stud, Let It Ride, and Pai Gow Poker. So how do we play these new games? And more importantly, how do we avoid sucker bets? Let's begin with Pai Gow Poker. As the name implies, it's a poker game. The dealer and each of the players gets 7 cards. You have to make the 2 best poker hands you can. 1 2-card hand and 1 5-card hand. If your 2 hands beat the dealer's 2 hands, you win.
Now, in order for you to lose your bet, you have to lose both hands. However, if you win one hand and lose one hand, then it's a push and no money changes hands. And since 45% of the time the game will end with you tying the dealer, getting a push, you can play for a long time on a limited amount of money. And that's why I like this game so much.
The card game Let It Ride is becoming more and more popular. This is another poker-based game where players are paid based on the hands they get. The lowest payout being for a pair of 10s, the highest being a royal flush. Now, play begins with the player placing 3 equal wagers. The dealer gives each player 3 cards and 2 community cards that may be used by all players and are dealt face down. After looking at the first 3 cards, the player can choose to take one of the bets back, or if he feels the hand is strong, let it ride. Next, the dealer turns over one of the community cards, and if the player feels his hand is still not strong, he can take 1 bet back or continue to let it ride. Finally, the second community card is flipped over, and the players are paid according to their hands. Let It Ride also allows you to place a side bet that could be a sucker bet.
Now you'll notice the other two players are going to put a chip in the little circle that's lighted up. That's a side bet, which will pay up to $20,000 if they get a royal flush. The house advantage on that side bet is 23.73%, which is quite high. That's the reason I don't make it.
Caribbean Stud is also a game that falls into the Carnival Games category. Caribbean Stud is a poker game where each of the players is playing against the dealer. The bet is usually a $5 minimum, but like some slot machines, this game lets you play for the progressive if you choose to. 5 cards are dealt face down, and then the dealer reveals one of his cards. If you think you can beat the dealer, you call and double your bet. If your hand is weak, you can fold, and you simply lose your initial bet. But should you play a game with a 5.3% house advantage?
You do want to play Caribbean Stud if you're with 2 or 3 people because it's a very sociable game. It's a slow game. You have a good time. You don't have to think about much of any strategy. You know when you feel like it's good and you stay with your ace, king, jack, whatever it happens to be, and that's it. That's a very good game. Mathematically, it's a lousy game. But is it a good game to play? You bet. And I don't think any of the games are bad because if they were bad games, people wouldn't play them.
Remember, a heavy house advantage may be the first clue as to whether the game you've chosen or the bet you're making is a sucker bet. A little bit of knowledge about the games themselves is sometimes all you need to avoid making bets that will suck the money right out of your pocket. For example, checking the layout on the roulette table you've chosen is good advice before placing a bet.
I have seen people play at roulette tables where there are 2 tables side by side. One has a 0 and a double 0 wheel. The other has a single 0 wheel. It cuts the percentage in half for the casino if you play at the single 0 wheel. Yet these people are playing the 2-0 wheel.
Unlike the newer Carnival games, roulette has been around for a long time. It involves a wheel with 36 numbers and a 0 or a double 0. The player can bet that a number will come up or a color. If the ball lands on your number or color, you win. The odds are dramatically different, however, for a number bet rather than a color bet. Now, the newest innovation in roulette is the history board that shows the results of the last several rolls. But is it really there to help us?
You're looking for a sucker bet in roulette, I got to point to that board right there. To me, that's the illusion of probability. You look at that board and you think you can predict the next spin. Now, this ball right here has no memory whatsoever. It's going to bounce around there randomly, fall into one of 37 different numbers, but you look up there and you think you see 10 red spins in a row and you think, I'm going to bet the farm on black. The next spin is a random event. This was the best gimmick ever invented for roulette.
One of the biggest myths in gambling is that if an event hasn't happened for a long time, then it becomes overdue and much more likely to happen. That is absolutely false. In games of independent trials like slots and roulette and craps and Keno, the past makes absolutely no difference. So if you noticed at the roulette game that the last 20 numbers were all red, the chances that the next number being black is the same as another red. Again, the past does not matter.
The past doesn't matter, but the future does. Coming up, is your favorite slot machine a good bet or a major sucker bet? Find out when Las Vegas Sucker Bets continues. Gambling experts will advise us that the way to be most successful at gambling is to have knowledge of the game, manage your bankroll carefully, and avoid sucker bets where the casino has a high house advantage. In Las Vegas, it appears that few gamblers are taking that advice because the most popular games seem to be those that require no knowledge and which carry a very high house advantage. Those games are the slot machines, and their popularity is demonstrated by the fact that they've nearly taken over the casino.
I don't know why everyone plays the slot machines. There must be something mesmerizing about sitting there and pushing that button. You don't even have to pull a handle anymore now. You just push a button. The casinos love them because they never call in sick and they don't have pension plans or health benefits. So it's easy to understand why they'd like to fill the casino with more and more slot machines.
Playing a slot machine takes virtually no knowledge, yet there are a few tips that might give you a better chance to win. Let's start off with how the slot machine works. At the precise moment you push the button on a modern slot machine, you've stopped its random number generator and your fate is sealed. The results are revealed as the wheel stops spinning. Hitting the button or pulling the handle a nanosecond one way or the other could mean the difference between a jackpot and a losing spin. And no matter what anyone says, it's simply impossible to determine when a slot machine is ready to give up its jackpot.
They're metal, plastic, computer chips. They have no intelligence. They have no memory. They don't know whether they paid out 3 jackpots in a row or they haven't coughed up a jackpot since the Reagan administration. They're just independent, random number generators with bells and whistles that are exciting, and people take a chance.
And it seems to be human nature to try to project patterns into a slot machine's randomness. But each spin is an independent event, which means that the notion of a hot machine that'll keep paying off is more wishful thinking than fact.
In other words, if your machine has been winning for you the last few spins, the natural tendency that I would have, or you might have, is to say, this machine is hot. But what actually is happening is each and every trial is completely independent. It just seems that way because you've had a short sequence of events which has gone in your favor, so it appears to be hot. But there's nothing to be done, there's no value to be gained from continuing to play that machine, or from moving to the next machine, or from waiting 5 minutes until you play the next spin on that machine.
Okay, there are no hot machines, but that doesn't mean that all machines pay the same.
Here's another great reason to take a look around at all the signage in a casino. We've just found a bank of slot machines that pay back 99%. Now, because the casino has advertised that by law, that means that every one of the machines in this particular bank has to pay back 99% in the long term. That means that out of every $100 I bet, I'm going to win $99 of that back the longer I play, meaning that I'm only playing at about a 1% disadvantage with the casino. That's excellent, particularly for a slot machine.
Once you've found the best place to play, with a machine that has a fun game and the best odds, there's one more thing necessary to avoid being a sucker.
You need to put the full amount into your machines to get the biggest jackpot you can.
For example, you might be at a 3-coin quarter game where the first and second coins might have about a 20% house advantage, but if you wager all 3 coins, then you've dropped the house edge maybe down to 6 or 7%.
And when it comes to the progressive slots, you must bet maximum coins to have a chance at the big jackpot.
You'll feel very foolish taking home only $10,000 because you bet 2 coins instead of several million because you didn't bet 3.
Maximum coins are necessary for the 3 real slots to avoid missing out on the big jackpots. But what about the newer video slot machines?
On a video slot, there really is no sucker bet, because for the most part, each and every coin you bet has the same house advantage. So there are some cases where it does behoove you to bet max coin, but it's not that much of a difference from betting less than max coin.
Now here's something you might find useful as you decide what to play. The house advantage gets lower as the slot machine denominations get higher.
Let me give you an example. If you play a $1 slot machine, each pull costs you $1. The house edge is around 3%. In other words, they're keeping 3 cents out of each $1 that you put in a real type slot machine. Now on a quarter slot machine, they have to keep more money to make the same amount of profit. So they will keep about 8% on your average quarter real slot machine. On a nickel slot machine, you can imagine what they have to keep. 15%, that's the average that they'll keep.
Video poker is one of the fastest growing games in the casino in the past few years. And it's one of the only slot machines where the player actually has a chance to affect the outcome of the game.
A drunk monkey can play slots as well as an Einstein. A drunk monkey's not likely to do well at video poker.
Bob Dancer is the top video poker writer and teacher in the country. He draws a distinction between slot players and video poker players.
if you look at playing on a machine as traveling in a car from wherever you are to New York, the video poker player is the guy who likes to drive, who likes to make the decisions, who likes to make the choices. The slot player is the one who wants to ride, who just wants somebody else to make all the decisions and just wants to get there.
In video poker, you're dealt 5 cards. You hold the cards you like, and then you get one chance to draw for a winning poker hand. There are all sorts of video poker games and a number of ways to win. But the ultimate winning hand is a royal flush, which means that if you end up with a 10, jack, queen, king, and an ace of the same suit, you hit the jackpot. But when you consider all the types of video poker available, it means a lot more knowledge is necessary.
Every different video poker game has a strategy. There is a unique best play to every hand. And there's over 2.5 million different possible hands, although some are ties for the most part.
There are strategy cards that you can use to help your play in the casino, and computer programs that will let you practice your game at home.
In video poker, the odds to the game are determined by the pay schedule. How much you get for a flush, how much you get for a straight, how much you get for a full house.
Notice, for example, on this Deuces Wild machine, the straight flush pays 9 and the 5 of a kind pays 15. And we'll just move 10 feet over this way. And this lady here is playing a much better machine. Notice how the straight flush pays 10 and the 5 of a kind pays 16. The same type of game, different machines. This one has the better pay table. This is the much better machine to play.
So a sucker bet in video poker would be playing the bad pay schedules, especially when the good schedules exist. And once again, it pays to read the signs. Coming up, it's a gambling showdown that was bound to happen. The battle between the perfect play math guy versus the long shot sucker betting fun guy. Who will win in this contest of math against luck? Find out when Las Vegas Sucker Bets continues. In Las Vegas, experts agree that the casino holds the advantage over the players in the long run. Professional gamblers know how to soften that house advantage by coming prepared with knowledge of the games, a plan to manage their money, and an eye for avoiding sucker bets. But can an amateur really benefit by using a professional approach over the short run? Experts Max Rubin and Anthony Curtis have been in and out and up and down in every casino in Las Vegas. Surprisingly, they don't agree as to how the recreational player can make the best of a visit to Glitter City.
Look, the point is, all they want to do is have fun when they come here.
No, when people come to Vegas, they want to win. To win, you got to play right. To play right, you got to play like the pros.
They can't play like the pros. They don't have the skills, they don't have discipline, and they don't have the bankroll to play like you guys.
That's my point. They don't know how to play. They shouldn't be playing at all.
Of course they should be playing. Just because they don't use this multi-parameter standard deviation derivative stuff that all the propeller heads are out there spinning around and saying, yeah, we got everything perfect mathematically, they got just as good a chance as you have in the short run over a weekend.
Okay, so what you're saying is a sucker can come here, play all the sucker games over a weekend and have the same result as me.
Yeah, in the short term, absolutely.
Game on. It would be Max's you might get lucky theory against Anthony's you gotta trust the math approach. Now they will play 6 different games to show their stuff, with a stake limited to $25 per game. The first challenge would be the slot machines.
And if I hit anything even small, I'll probably want to get up and get out of here. That's good, that's good. Oh. Typical slot machine experience, as far as I can see, is play, 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 nothing happens. Last shot for this one. That's it.
Okay, I'm going to play some Megabucks here. It's considered the worst game of all the slot machines.
Max was not only trying to beat Anthony, he was hoping to defy all odds by becoming a multi-millionaire in the process.
Here we go. Come on. Yeah. Next game.
Max and Anthony each lost their gambling stake of $25 designated for the slot machines. Next up was Baccarat. This game would surely highlight our players' different approaches. After a couple of losing hands,
I'm going for it.
Max goes for the Baccarat long shot, the tie. It may be the biggest sucker bet in Baccarat, but Max feels that a lucky win could put him way ahead.
Come on, I just need one tie. Yeah, that's all I need. Nah, that's not good.
Anthony, whose perfect play strategy would never allow him to bet the tie, has a few good hands, then hits an unlucky streak.
I'm pretty helpless at this point. I just sit and watch her beat me.
The result in Baccarat was the same as the slots. Each player has lost his $25 gambling stake. At the roulette table, the 35-to-1 odds on single number bets are right up a long shot player's alley.
My strategy here is I know if I can catch 2 numbers in a row, I'm going to win this thing. So I'm going for the long shots.
I'm just going to plod along and hope that I don't get massacred. So I'm going to make $4 bets on red and black and odd and even and things like that.
It's a great thing about roulette. You hit fast and you win fast.
And you lose fast. A couple spins of the wheel and Max's $25 stake is cleaned out. Anthony does better simply by quitting before losing everything.
That's enough for me. I'm going to walk with the money that I have left and put it toward a better game.
The roulette result shows Max with 0 and Anthony holding on to a whopping $7. The next challenge is blackjack, where Anthony's knowledge of optimal play should give him the edge over Max's sucker bet strategy.
Well, it's a terrific start. The dealer has a blackjack.
Good for the dealer, bad for Anthony.
I've got to make the right play. A 10 against a 7's a double down. Basic strategy, I'm going to do it. I have 12. I need her to bust. 17. Horrible results. Not good.
Anthony sticks with the basic strategy.
16 against the 9. I got to hit it. 21. Stand. Very lucky.
After a few hands, his bankroll for this game is nearly gone. And that's when Anthony's experience and discipline kicks in again.
Actually, you know what? I will surrender. And it wasn't a good result at my favorite game, but I'm going to walk with 250. All right? Thanks a lot.
Blackjack was Anthony's game, but with his poor showing, he may have left the door open for Max to take the lead.
Now here's a good game. It says Super Fun 21, so it's got a lot of fun buzzes and a lot of fun hooks, so I'm going to give it a play.
Super Fun 21 is not traditional blackjack, but it is a typical Max move.
Come on. Oh, I got it in diamonds. Nice.
In Super Fun 21, a blackjack in diamonds pays double.
Got to keep trying new stuff while you're playing. Got to play the hunches. Makes no sense mathematically, but it sure feels good.
Max sticks with his feel-good gambling style right to the end.
Get a lot of action for my $25 here, so I'm just going to let this ride after I win this hand. If I win this hand. I may win this hand. I didn't win this hand.
Blackjack results, Max continues his perfect losing streak, and Anthony holds on to another $2.50. But the craps table may be where the competition between these two will really heat up.
I'm going to be very boring. I'm going to be very slow and very methodical, but I'm going to play to try to make my money last and try to get out of here with my tail.
Sticking with pass line bets, Anthony has found a winning strategy.
7 winner. I'm also lucky at this moment.
At the other end of the table, Max is going for broke.
First thing I'm going to do is get the juju working. Bet a two-way yo for the dealers. That means if that 11 comes up, we win. Just bet 5 on the line.
Translation? Max is getting the dealers on his side by placing a bet for them. He's betting $5 that an 11 will be rolled.
Oh, I'll throw the yo. Here we go. Yo! Yo! Thank you very large. All right, that's a start.
Yeah, a good start, but in the end, his $25 bankroll is gone. Anthony is wrapping up a good run.
Let it go one more time. Let it ride. No, man, my job was to get out of here with double. Thank you, guys. Good work. I'll pass. Pass it on.
Once again, Anthony's discipline has allowed him to walk away from the game with a slight advantage. This factor appears to have given him the ability to outplay Max's go-for-broke style. In craps, Anthony wins $60. The last stop in the challenge is video poker. Experts say it has a low house advantage and no sucker bets. Without a long shot to pile his money on, Max has his work cut out for him if he wants to catch Anthony.
All right, this is the one I'm looking for. This is 10-7 double bonus. The extra digit here makes this game over 100% return payback. All right, here we go. Max credits all the time.
Maximum credits on this machine is 5 quarters per hand.
Okay, I'm about halfway there. I'm 1250 down right now. Still a lot of firepower in this game. There's a full house. That's what we wanted. Back up to 1750 now. All right, pair of aces. That's a good draw. Could be very powerful if I get lucky. Not lucky.
And on this day, it looks like the math guy could have used more luck than strategy.
All right, I'm down to my last buck and a quarter. I'm dealt a queen and a king. This is it. It's my last shot. No, I'm done. I'm out.
Well, Anthony has given Max the chance to take the lead.
Okay, my strategy here is I'm going to play some 5-play, deuces wild, 50 cents. If it's going to cost me $12.50 the first spin. If I don't hit anything, I drop down to quarters.
That's a well-thought-out strategy.
Right play might be to go for the flush here. I'm not sure.
For a game he doesn't seem to understand.
Not good. All I'm going to hold is a deuce here. Well, I'm up a little bit. That's not bad. That's not bad. I'm going to stop. I think my strategy in this game, normally I'd keep playing, but right now I'm going to cash out.
If there's one strategy that always works, it's to quit when you're ahead. No one can argue with that. Max couldn't have picked a better time to walk.
What do you got?
For real?
Yeah.
I got 69.50 left.
I got 80.
You got 80.
I got you.
You're ahead of me.
I love it.
You got me by 10.50.
I got you. Son of a I got him.
Well, the conclusion to this contest is decisively inconclusive. Even though Anthony's steady play and discipline allowed him to walk away from most of the games with at least some of his bankroll intact, he couldn't beat Max's incredibly dumb luck at the video poker machine. And with Max quitting while he was ahead, he actually won by playing Anthony's game plan. Sounds like a little of both strategies worked in the short run. One thing is clear. In the long run, the more you know about all the wagers offered in the casino, the more entertaining and rewarding your gambling experience can be. A little basic strategy and good sense with your bankroll won't instantly transform you into a professional gambler, but it may turn you into a player not easily taken by sucker bets.